This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the town of North Haven.
Good evening. I'd like to convene the February 25th, 2020 North Haven Fire Commission meeting to order. I'd like to ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to ask for the approval of the minutes from the Board of Fire Commission meeting held on January 28, 2020. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. The Chief's report.
Good evening, everybody. I'll try to be brief. I'm going to start with alarms for this past period of time, and again, it covers since our last meeting. Year-to-date 2019, we were at 697 alarms. Year-to-date 2020, 740 alarms, a difference of 43. 5 years ago, we were at 664 alarms, difference of 76. Since our last Board of Fire Commission meeting, we've provided ALS intercept on 6 different occasions. 26 incident responses to the highway. 67% of our calls were EMS in nature. And we had 1 incident in which we were delayed in responding to, and 3 others in which we were unable to respond to the apparatus to. An AMR had to respond solo. It needs to be medicals. So approximately 399 incidents since our last meeting, 103 of which were occurring at the same time, which accounts for a 26% overlap in calls. Regarding our budget, last year at this time we were at 70.2%. This year we're at 66.6% in our budget. Since our last meeting, we've collected $78,248 in permit fees, which brings our total permit fees for this fiscal year to $412,348. Regarding training, we've gone over some officer and command development, vehicle extrication, forcible entry, and I'm trying to take advantage of the rather light winter that we've been having and staying on top of things. Some of the things we haven't been able to do a whole lot are some cold weather operations like ice rescue and things like that we normally do this time of year, but it just hasn't worked out. Regarding executive session, I've got a couple of items for executive session, and that's all I have for Chief's report.
Very good. Any questions on the Chief regarding the Chief's report?
Yeah, Chief, how many medicals I couldn't respond to?
3.
Was that because there was other calls at the same time?
Yeah, that's usually what's the attributing factor to it is if, depending on a shift that's on duty, if you get more than 3 or 4 calls in and we haven't cleared units from the first couple of calls, then there's just nobody to respond.
Okay. And one other quick question. When you did your presentation, you talked about the number of calls that have gone out to Amazon. Do you know out of this month how many went out?
I don't keep track of it on a monthly basis. I can have that for you our next meeting. I can give you the period of time up until now.
Okay.
As in a workshop, I had run those numbers, and they're accurate at that point in time, but I haven't looked at them again since. But I'll have it for you next month.
Okay.
Those calls were significantly more than what was actually projected from the very onset. I mean, there was some discussion about Amazon requiring minimal services from the department, but my expectation is that we've responded significantly more than what they projected. Is that correct?
So we projected, and I'd have to go back and look, I want to say we projected between 75 and 150 calls there a year, and we provided those numbers at the very early stages before anybody even knew it was Amazon, but we were fortunate enough to have found out to do our research. We had contacted about 10 other municipalities that have that same facility in it. And through our efforts of talking with those departments, we had basically developed how often they respond. And so we had projected, I think it was 75 to 150 calls a year, or somewhere right in that neighborhood. So this doesn't really catch us by surprise. And remember that when I provide the numbers for you for Amazon, it's specific to the address. So be specific to 409 Washington Avenue. So there may be other calls taking place in town that are attributed to traffic and employees, but we won't be able to identify that per se.
Very good. Any other questions of the chief?
Of the chief, of the three that we couldn't respond to, was there, did it make much of a difference?
So it's hard. What I try to do for you is I try to identify how long the ambulance took to arrive, but in some of these, I can't get that information. We expect that to change soon when we start being able to EMD the calls and we start taking possession of the, hopefully possession of the PSA. I'll be able to give you a clearer picture of the three that we missed, how long the ambulance took to arrive, if it was BLS or ALS, but at this point in time, our access to that information is just so limited.
Okay.
Chief, they used to keep a couple of cars here on Washington Avenue. They're not here anymore, AMR.
No, they've repositioned their cars. Remember that the ambulances are regional assets. The ambulances cover more than just North Haven. So they cover a number of towns. So it's not uncommon for an ambulance to cover Hamden, Upper New Haven, and North Haven. And they typically try to stage ambulances in the Route 40 area of 91. But no, this office over here is, I think they exchange a crew there once or twice a day, but that's it.
Any other questions of the chief? If not, I'll accept the motion to accept his report.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any question on the motion? All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Correspondence. Any commissioners receive any correspondence? Chief?
I have
Yes.
received quite a few.
Yes.
So I'm going to share this, I know you were on CC'd on a lot of them, but I have copies for the other commissioners, and I have copies for the chief of the ones he wasn't CC'd on. So that one can go to Commissioner Mazzarello. That one goes to the chief.
Jump to the
then
chief.
The other packets are for the other commissioners. Yep. So essentially, after the last meeting when we talked about the issue of reviewing the budgets, and I know I had looked at other towns and there was the idea that maybe we were just different in North Haven. I decided to reach out to other board and commission members to find out what their practice is. And I specifically talked to Mark Calafiore, and you'll see his email. The the police commission reviews the budget monthly, and really the reason they do it, and you can read through his email, is really to help support the police department. So I wanted to just share the correspondence. So we got, that one was specifically to me. Then Pat Brown wrote one that she shared, that she felt that the fire commission should be reviewing the financial reports in order to be more informed. Then there was an email from Gary George, who was also surprised that we don't review them, and supports the position that we should be doing that on a regular basis, and really more to support the fire department, not to micromanage anybody. There's another one from Mary Ann Hardy, who is on the library board. They also review their financial budgets on a regular basis, and she was also concerned and supporting the idea that we should be doing regular reviews of the budget in order to help to support the fire department to get the resources they need. And then there was one from Scott Friedman. He lives on a road that had two fires, where one of them with fire death, and both with total property destruction. So he is also supporting the idea that we should be looking at the budgets in order to adequately fund the fire department. Danielle Morphy wrote a letter also, or an email, suggesting that we should be reviewing the budgets. And I think, her position is, again, that we should be advocating for the fire department. The only way to really do that is by looking at what the resources are on a regular basis and advocating for that. So I just wanted to share those emails with the other commissioners and with the chief, so you can look at them, and hopefully we can consider doing some of these things, and we can talk about this later if you want to go to old business, but I just feel that one of the benefits of reviewing the budget is on a monthly basis is the public gets to hear what the needs are. And for instance, when I was on the Board of Ed, we ended up being able to, prior to the budget meetings, create an advocacy group for the school district so that the school district could increase their funding. And they were very effective. The school board ended up being able to have financial resources they would not have if we didn't have the citizens, that were really supporting them. And I think we would probably see some similar things if we review things so that the public knows what we have or don't have. Like, for instance, when you told me that 2 of the firehouses don't have generators, to me that's a frightening thing, and we should be, advocating for things like that. So, and I know you've done a great job in terms of, at the presentations and showing stuff, but I think on a monthly basis, the more people hear it, the more reality sets in, the more we can hopefully advocate more for the fire department. So I just wanted to share those correspondence.
Thank you, and certainly I have received all of these communications that you have copied, and thank you for copying for our other commissioners. There's no question that a number of residents have been advocating to review the budget, and I think maybe under old business we'll get into that. But thank you for doing that, Commissioner. Any other communications, Chief?
No, sir.
As I indicated, I have received the same email communications that Commissioner Caldwell has printed for us. Discussion of unfinished business of the department.
So I have on here state of fire apparatus, just your monthly update on where we are with that. So Engine 2 was the apparatus that was struck on the highway of June 9th, 2019. We do expect that back soon. We are targeting a completion date of January, but that's been a little bit delayed. We're hoping for the month of February. I'm actively involved, and I see pictures, and we have staff that go down there and check in on it, and it's being worked on. It's just it's a big project. So we hope to have that back very soon. Our new engine is scheduled for delivery of May 2020, and we have identified a used ladder truck. I went out and visited in Ohio. I think I told the commission this last month. Since that time, we moved forward with the bid process, and they were successfully awarded the bid. The truck is currently in the process of being moved from Ohio to here in North Haven, and we'll work to get a few things done to it. Nothing major. It's all part of the purchase price, and we should have that in service within the next, I would say, 60 days. We're targeting about 60 days. So it'll be a busy spring for us, trying to get our fleet back up and fully operational again. Regarding the OEMS PSAR update, so as I think I had mentioned to the commission last month, AMR had filed an appeal to the decision to award the PSA to North Haven. The appeal hearing is tomorrow, so Deputy Chief Martis and myself and Town Attorney will be traveling to Hartford for that hearing. And a new hearing officer has been assigned to the case now, and they're going to basically hear their objections to the findings of fact that were part of the decision. And I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It likely won't be decided tomorrow, but it will likely be heard tomorrow and then decided within the next 30 days or so. Kind of depends on what kind of arguments are had on both sides. So I don't expect this to go more than tomorrow for a hearing. I think it's going to be open and closed for just a limited scope of the appeal, and then 30, 45 days from now, hopefully we'll have this next hearing officer who's been assigned to it to award it again. So that's where we're at there.
Chief, I understand there are several fire departments in the area trying to get rid of their services.
Yeah, Commissioner, you're correct there. The issues that we've been experiencing here in North Haven, specific to ambulance responses, has been that way everywhere for a long time. There was a bipartisan legislative effort a number of years ago to try to build the avenue for municipalities to obtain the PSA back, to give municipalities more control over the PSA. To date, Milford's been the only town that's successfully done so. We hope to be the second, and as of the hearing officer's decision, we are the second. We are truly setting a precedent for the rest of the municipalities in the state of Connecticut. I can tell you that the hearings are public, that take place in Hartford, and I've witnessed a number of fire chiefs. I don't want to say who they are, but I mean big city and small town fire chiefs present at our hearings, watching and learning from what we're doing.
Thank you for that update, Chief. Anything further?
The only thing I have for you is the 2020 Firefighter Consortium testing, which we're part of. Again, that's a statewide effort. There's about 14 fire departments now that are part of that statewide testing process. There were 863 applicants in total, and that list will be good for 2 years. There's oral exams and a written test being administered over the course of the next few months, with that list going effective as of July 2020. And again, as we have in the past, we were the first department to be involved in this last time around. There was only about 8 then. We're up to about 14 now. And it's a good, encouraging sign to have 863 applicants put in for these 14 departments, us being one of them.
Great news, great news.
And that's what I have for unfinished business.
Perfect. Any other comments regarding unfinished business? Hearing none, discussion of new business for the fire department.
Only new business I had for you was our newest recruit is in the Connecticut Fire Academy. He started a couple of weeks ago. All indicators at this point are that he's doing very well and progressing, and we expect him to graduate sometime in May.
The good of the fire department.
I have nothing listed on the agenda.
We'll certainly open it up to public comments.
You going there now?
Wherever you wish.
It's a different place. Sally Blamey, 5 Blossom Drive. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief so the chief can get home to prepare for his big hearing tomorrow. I just was wondering about, I've seen most of your meetings. I might have missed 1 or 2 the past 6 months or so. So my apologies if you've already reviewed this. But I had a question about the Defco Park fire and any possible update on the status of insurance claims, because a lot of our fire department equipment, if I recall correctly, was damaged as a result of that fire, and the town had to lay out quite a bit of money up front because the firemen needed it replaced, and it was quite a few hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I fully supported that appropriation. But there was somewhat sort of understanding that insurance would be coming in. I'm not sure which insurance company. There were probably some battling going on. Do you have any updates on any claims in getting us reimbursed for that output?
Sure. So that all took place last fiscal year. So
Yes.
it reflected then. My recollection being, and please check with Ed Smokowski to verify, but my recollection is that of the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you referenced, the town was responsible for is $10,000 upfront cost. That's it, the deductible. That's
right.
it. So of that $10,000, we did not get that back.
Right.
That's our deductible. But everything else we were fully compensated for.
Okay. Okay, and so that must have been from our own coverage. I wasn't sure
Yeah.
if there was any contribution coming from other possible insurance companies. I mean, I know the alarm didn't go off there. I don't know. I guess I'll have to. But so we did get reimbursed the bulk of that money.
Yeah.
I'll take your advice and talk to Mr. Swinkowski about any other possible
Yeah, because
sources.
once we made the claim, I was responsible for documenting the paperwork and the,
Right.
How old this stuff was and what it was and what the value and so forth was. But finance really handled the claim, short of me just kind of being the liaison between the insurance company and the equipment that we needed to have replaced. But My understanding is that we are only out the $10,000
Well, that's good,
deductible.
that's good to hear, and I will take your advice and follow up with Mr. Swinkowski.
Excuse me one second.
Yes, sir.
The expectation is that more than likely, our insurance company would probably attempt to subrogate.
Subrogate
this.
from others.
Yeah, from others, and how successful they will
They will
be
be.
to be determined.
Okay,
Yep.
I guess I was more interested in that point.
Yeah, I wouldn't have
So I'll
any
have to follow
knowledge
up.
of that.
As far as what you did for our claim, your work is done, I would think.
I would like to think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and I know that a lot of breathing apparatus equipment was damaged. Now, there's a request in this budget for 2021 for more breathing apparatus. Is that for apparatus belonging to firefighters that weren't involved in the fire, I assume?
Sure. So what that is, and again, please check with Ed. He'll be able to verify this. But when we first purchased those SCBA's, they were part of a lease-to-own program. So what you see in the capital budget is the next installment of payment that is due for the SCBA's.
Oh, I
It's not
see.
that we're
It's
buying
not-
any additional.
Oh, okay.
It's that we're still making those lease-to-own payments. I believe that the Director of Finance had tossed around back and forth. Do we take the full payment from the insurance company, or do we continue on the payments? And that was his call to make. But they're not
yeah.
additional SCBA's. I think this is the last year coming up that we even have to make that payment.
Okay, I understand. Yes, that's not 100% clear when you just look at the capital.
You're right, yeah.
But I don't have to check with him, I believe you.
Yeah, so initially, just so that you understand, that initially that money was put aside to purchase so many SCBA's every year for the next so many fiscal years. When I had first become chief and I was looking at that, it was actually more advantageous for us to purchase everything and do a lease to own and save a lot of money over the course of years. And naturally it's because of the price keeps going up, the standard may have changed, so the SCBA's are developed to a specific standard. We don't have any control over when those standards are released, but typically it's about every 5 years. And we ran the chance if we were buying in piecemeal, let's say, 12, 15 packs a year, we ran the chance of in year 3 or year 4 having a different model air pack than what we had for the last 3 years. So we didn't want that either because that creates an operational concern. So we saved, at the time I want to say it was over $100,000 by making that purchase of everything all up front and then building those lease payments in.
I see. Okay, well, that makes sense. And finally, in your chief's report, you reported 399 incidents, alarms, 103 occurring at the same time. I know you presented at your workshop the bar chart, which showed, every day, all 7 days of the week, there's not much change in numbers. It goes down maybe a couple of percentage points on Saturday and Sunday, but, I just was wondering on those contemporaneous or current calls, what percentage are during the weekday? Do you have statistics of that? I can follow up with you on that.
Yeah, you can certainly follow up with me. I'll see if we can run the report to include that, but I just don't know that there's going to be an easy way to run that. The report options are simply overlapping calls. It doesn't then allow me to go in and choose which days of the week the overlapping calls occur on.
I just would.
I could maybe grab a week or a Monday through Friday every couple of weeks and try to give you a sample, but to run that on an ongoing basis, it would be too difficult to do so.
Okay.
But I can give you an example.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Hearing none, we'll move into executive session. I hear a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? So moved. Good evening. I'd like to reconvene the February 25th, 2020 North Haven Fire Commission meeting to order. Commissioner Caldwell, you had some questions regarding the emails that were sent out in the budget request.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that I think that reviewing the budget on a regular basis is really important for the commission in order to advocate for the fire department. And you've got multiple letters from members of the public who are requesting that we do that, since all the other boards and commissions do it. And that would just be my recommendation going forward, that we review the budget.
Well, I certainly appreciate the comments and the emails, and I've thanked each of the persons who have submitted emails to me as well. I've received original emails from each of these persons that you copied, and certainly I thank them for their effort. As you and I in this commission has discussed last month, and it's my belief that the chief has articulates the needs of the department to us, and we discuss whatever the needs are so that the public has a clear understanding as to what the needs of the fire department are. And if those persons who are out there wish to advocate on our behalf, we have always asked for the public's support of our fire department, whether it be for the purchase of apparatus, for the hiring of additional staff, to come out to Board of Finance meetings to support the budget of the department, and certainly to come to the town meeting where they could articulate their interest in adding or subtracting from a particular line item in a department budget. Certainly our form of government allows that to occur. And once that town meeting takes place, the Board of Finance then submits the proposed budget to referendum, and we adhere to whatever the wishes are of the public as far as the budget that has been proposed and passed. The chief and the deputies manage the budget. And as he indicated today, we're currently at 66.2% of this year's budget and being spent. And keep in mind, only 15% of the budget is discretionary. Now, I absolutely agree with the persons who have submitted emails that are advocating for supporting the fire department, whether it be for apparatus, personnel, or equipment. This department has been hamstrung for many, many years financially. Mike Frieda and the Board of Finance have come to an agreement with the chief and this commission from the manpower standpoint to add additional firefighters in order to do what we've done most recently, and that is to man a shift at Montaouise, and we're anticipating manning another shift in May at Montaouise as a result of the systematic addition of personnel. That is in no way, shape, or form a detriment or a slam, if you will, on our volunteers. We're just not able to bring as many volunteers to the table, not only in our town, but across the country. So I absolutely welcome the opportunity for residents to be advocates on behalf of the fire department, as well as the Board of Education and the Public Works and the library and other departments in town. And certainly from the public safety standpoint, we do the best that we can do with the budget that has been approved and the manpower that we have. And I don't see where discussing where the chief is in the purchase of items in that 15% of the budget that is discretionary, that purchases hoses and other equipment for the fire department. What benefit does that do in a discussion here at this commission meeting, when in fact, when the chief brings to our attention the need of apparatus, equipment, manpower, whatever it might be, then those subjects are discussed in length, and discussion takes place, and recommendations to the chief and to the Board of Finance and or to the Board of Selectmen is then presented. So I understand what other departments, departments in the town might be doing as far as their review of their budgets. I personally, and I'll open it up to other commissioners, certainly don't see where looking at that 15% of discretionary budget line items are going to be of benefit for us. But certainly in this budget process of which the town charter and the town has very specific policies and procedures and guidelines to manage. And I might say that Mike Frieda and Ed Swinkowski have their finger on the pulse of the budget on a daily basis, and they know what's being spent, and if any budget is out of whack, they're certainly in communication with department heads to identify what the issue is. And certainly the department head has a responsibility to articulate whatever the cause of that overage is. In our department, from our commission standpoint, in the most recent years, since the budget has been modified at the recommendation of the chief, and the modification was specifically for the contractual obligations for vacation and sick time and longevity and so on and so forth versus overtime. And for years, this department had been criticized because of the overtime budget until the chief was able to educate the Board of Finance, and they finally took his advice and separated that line item into contractual obligations and overtime. And we have been within budget as a result of that. So the system that we have in place here, I believe, in our commission is working flawlessly, and it has worked flawlessly all these years. And I don't see where it's necessary for us to have the budget presented on a monthly basis, especially when we're not able to have any impact on 85% of the budget, and then the 15% of the budget are pretty standard items that the chief manages and manages very well.
So, first of all, from the letters the emails that came out, I think it is the expectation of the voters in North Haven that when they vote for members on a board and commission, that oversight of the budget is part of what they expect their responsibilities to be.
And we do that.
But you don't. You can't oversee a budget that you never see. That's not oversight. That is just, I mean, the information that we've spent this amount, to me, does not give you enough detail to allow you to have meaningful conversations about the needs of the department. So it is the expectation, as many of the people who wrote about, is that it's the expectation that the commissioners will be doing this. Most of them assumed that was part of the responsibilities, and that was part of what the commission was doing. I don't think there's any harm in sharing the budget once a month with the fire commissioners. There is nothing that will detrimental from sharing it. It's just a place of being more informed to be able to be a better advocate. And the other thing is, I wouldn't say it's worked flawlessly, because I think the fire department has been in a position where they haven't gotten the funding that they needed for many, many years. And so not because of the fire commission, but we have not necessarily been successful in being able to be that kind of an advocate. And clearly, people are interested now. You've got many, many letters about this. So it would seem that there is no harm in sharing the information. All it's going to do is allow us to be more informed. It'll also let the voters know that we're listening to them, that they're interested, that their concerns are being heard. And I don't really see the downside to providing the information. So that's my position. I think that most people who vote for an elected board or commission assume that a major part of governing is looking at the budget and knowing about it in terms of how that department is run. It gives you information. And it's not about the 15% that's discretionary. It's about looking at the overall big picture of the department. And the budget is a big part of that. It's what guides a lot of the decisions. Making a 5-year plan, you can't make a 5-year plan if you don't know what the current budget it looks like. So that's where I stand. As I said before, I will go to the Board of Finance and get the information if I need to, but it just seems like that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it's unsettling on why we wouldn't just pass out the information. So that's what I think.
Any other comments from any other commissioners?
I'm still, I don't think I'm that stupid, but I don't know what you're looking for.
The budget.
The budget is presented to the finance committee in the town, they approve it, and we get it, and that's what we spend. I don't, you want it on a monthly basis, what changes month to month? The pens we use, or?
Well, no, there's a lot of information the budget gives you. It lets you know what was budgeted for and what was actually
But
spent.
that document is presented once a year to the town.
No, every month the Board of Finance gets updates on monthly summaries from each department. And every other board and commission does it,
Report to them every month?
They have access to it themselves and they review it.
Yes, every month they review it.
Yeah.
See, what happens, obviously, as the purchases take place, they get debited from whatever the line items are in the budget, the budget changes, and that's where the chief reports to us. We're at 66.2% of this annual budget based on the purchases that have taken place.
So you want to know exactly what purchases were made?
No, when you look at a budget summary, it gives you your line items, which tells you your category, and then it tells you what was projected to be spent and what's been spent so far. And so then you can get an idea of what's going on with the department. And it's public information, so
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm taking exception to this, because I'm getting the feeling like these people that sent these letters, or whoever it is that's asking for this information, thinks we're trying to rob somebody.
No, they don't think anything of that.
You
I
know?
think they think it's strange that we haven't looked at it and that it's been such a big deal to get it. That's the perception, is when you won't share the information, then what people take away from that is you want to hide something.
But what information do you want
Well, so
shared?
if I want the budget, I want to look at the monthly budget. Every single month, I want to get a copy of what goes to the Board of Finance. It's simple, and every other board does it. I'm not sure why there's a point in even arguing about it, because it's.
I'm not arguing about it, I'm trying to be
it's
clear
public.
on
And
what
for
it is you
people
want.
who review budgets, there's a lot of information you can get about how things are running from looking at the budget. And it has nothing to do with saying there should be this many hoses purchased or not. No one's going to get into that kind of thing at all. It is really, and take some time and read through the emails that you got, and you'll understand where people are coming from and why they are asking for what they're asking for.
Okay, well.
That would be, and then maybe we talk about it next month. So,
Yeah,
and give people a chance to read the emails and the feedback that they're getting.
I have read the emails and as I receive them, and I appreciate the fact that they've taken the time to do so. And my feeling is that the budget that is created is managed by the chief, and the chief articulates to us any concerns or issues that have arisen that are necessary for us as a commissioner to address, to make sure that we as elected officials articulate that message to the Board of Finance or to the Board of Selectmen, and certainly during our deliberation as commissioners to the public, so that the public then understands what the needs of the department are, and if those persons, as these persons, wish to be advocates on behalf of the fire department, they can go ahead and do so. But there's not going to be any change in this budget that's already in play, that we've spent down 66 and 2% of. There's going to be no change in that budget whether we review each line item or not. I think at this time, this is the budget cycle, and the charter is clear. The department heads present a proposed budget along with their chairpersons of their departments to the Board of Finance. It's publicized on North Haven Public TV for all the residents to observe and understand, and for those who wish to be advocates for any of the departments in town can certainly go to the Board of Finance and advocate on behalf of the department that they wish, whether it be the Board of Education or the Fire Department or the Public Works, and they could, in public comment, articulate their message. And then they can certainly go to the town meeting where the budget is discussed at length to again advocate to make modifications or additions to the budget, and then hopefully the Board of Finance hears those messages and incorporates what those messages are in the final budget that goes to referendum, and then the residents vote on, and then our department heads manage those budgets.
Okay.
So, you know, I don't see where having the budget on a monthly basis, looking at, again, whether it be the whole budget or the 15% that's discretionary, is going to have any impact on what our advocates are going to be. I think it's our discussion that's going to encourage people to be advocates, to say, you know, I'm tired of an antiquated fleet. I want to man all of our volunteer stations, and that's going to necessitate the hiring of X number of additional firefighters. And will the residents be willing to underwrite that cost in tax increases? I mean, we had a furious discussion when a few months ago, or 6 months ago, there was or maybe 2 years ago, I should say, at a workshop meeting that Mike Frieda asked the chief and myself to propose what the next 5 years of the fire department would need. And there was a discussion about 16 firefighters, and there was a firestorm that took place. And people were outraged that our chief would even suggest that we hire 16 firefighters because it was going to cost an exorbitant amount of money in enhanced taxes. So, you know, I think since that discussion, Jen, you know, I haven't seen an outpouring of support of the fire department to bring more firefighters on board so that we would have more than 3 apparatus on shift. And as the report indicated, we had 103 overlapping calls. So once those 3 apparatus are out, we don't have any more apparatus to send out. So where's the outpour other than these 6 people here that I'm really appreciative of that they did that? Where's the outpour? I've spoken with, you know, and this commission has spoken about how important it is to make sure that we're providing services for moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas in this town. And we only have, right now, we started off with 7, we're at 9 and 10 persons per shift. And where's the outpour of additional support for the fire department? Where is it?
You're making a big to-do. All she asked for was a monthly report.
I understand.
Going off and 20 guys here, 10 guys there. All she asked for is a simple report.
I understand. And my question is, what is that report going to result in? I think it's our discussion of what the needs of the department are, asking for residents to be advocates on behalf of the department to add more personnel, increase our apparatus, open up our volunteer stations to full-time firefighters to provide the quality service that the residents of this town deserve. I think that's where the value comes.
Well, so I think a lot of what people were saying was that they were A, surprised that we weren't doing that, and B, when they looked around, again, all the other departments in North Haven do it, they look at other fire commissions, they do it, it's a basic part of what a governing board does, is to look at the budget. And if you don't feel like you need to look at the budget, that's fine, but for me, it provides information that can allow, that will help me to be able to advocate for the fire department, think about what they need. It provides additional information. It allows you to be more informed. If you don't want to look at it, you don't have to.
My understanding is that Ed Swinkowski has mailed to you the proposed budget that has been proposed so that you'll have a clear understanding of what the proposed budget is. We're certainly will wait until the town meeting takes place and the referendum takes place in order to have an actual budget in place for us to be able to operate from. And I have complete confidence in the chief to be able to articulate to us what the needs are of the department for the coming budget cycle, so that way there we will all contribute to what the proposed budget will be in the next budget cycle. So, again, I don't see what the benefit is of looking at the line items other than saying, okay, this is the line item, we're at 66.2% of spent down on the budget. So what are we going to say? We need more in line 2 or 10 or 20, but we're going to have that discussion anyway.
Well, first of all, to me, just giving a percentage doesn't give me enough information to know exactly what's going on with the budget. And again, it is the expectation of the people who vote for the members who are sitting on the boards and the commissions that they're going to review the budget, not going through every line item. I think you're sort of stuck on that little point. Nobody's talking about going through line items and saying, hey, you put $20 here, I want $40 here. I mean, that's not the point. The point is to be informed about what's going on so you can clearly articulate to the citizens in North Haven what is the issues with the budget. And unless you look at the budget, and I mean beyond a percentage that's there, unless you look at the line items to see where the needs are, it is very difficult to articulate that to people. And if you don't need that, that's fine, but I feel it's important. I have not received this stuff from Ed Swinkowski yet. He never let me know that he was mailing it. So I would have gone down to his office and picked it up. But on a regular basis, there are monthly summaries that the Board of Finance looks at every month. It would seem that it would be easy enough to get that. And then the other last piece that I'll say, and again, I think people should, commission members should read the letters that people have sent in or the emails that people have sent, but I think the benefit for the chief is before he sits in front of that Board of Finance to have a discussion with the Fire Commission like every other board and commission does, gives him the opportunity to get feedback and questions and be sort of ready for what might come in front of him in the Board of Finance.
But he does. You weren't part of the board at that time.
So you guys, you have done that?
Absolutely, we've done that, and I participated in the presentation.
I saw you at that.
Absolutely. So
what month did you guys look at the proposed budget?
I don't know I can't tell you what the month was. The chief prepares a proposed budget. We look at we review the budget. We sit down in executive session to review the budget, make our recommendations based on the chief's recommendations to us. And look, they're the fire professionals.
But the budget is being reviewed in an executive session?
I'm sorry, I misspoke. The chief prepares the budget. We review the budget during our session here, and we make whatever suggestions or recommendations to the chief, but the chief certainly is the professional who is identifying what each of those line items need to be.
That's exactly how it works in every other board and commission.
Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with trying to.
So it isn't like our commission isn't adhering to the requirements of our duties. We're not derelict in our duties and not listening to what the chief is indicating as far as our budget is concerned. He's certainly articulating that on a monthly basis. Are we looking at the actual numbers? The answer is no. We're not looking at the actual numbers. If the actual numbers are available through the Board of Finance, and certainly they've got a modified schedule. The chief articulates what the percentile of the budget is that has been spent. We've been satisfied with that. We would certainly welcome the advocates of persons who are wishing to advocate on behalf of the fire department, and we'll have a spirited discussion for whatever the needs of the department are so that the residents will be able to advocate on our behalf. And the advocacy would be, for a particular whether it be personnel or apparatus or equipment or whatever it might be. And in that discussion, the chief will be able to provide for us a dollar figure so that the residents who are out there will be able to advocate with a number.
Well, again, I think people who are used to looking at budgets, the budget gives a lot of information, and just a number or just a percentage does not give you that same information.
I agree. I understand what you're saying. We're going to agree to disagree. Any other comments from any other commissioners? Hearing none. Any other further business coming before this commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? This meeting's adjourned.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.